Good, Brian. How are you?
Too bad.
Brian, did you turn your camera on? I just have a black screen.
Not really, but I guess I should. How do I get to my camera? Let me see. let me Okay, I have Debbie up here. Escape.
It should be down by your mute button where you just turn on camera.
Well, mine only says stop video, but hopefully I'm plugged in. I should be plugged in.
His video's rolling, otherwise it would say his name. So it's just something is blocking the actual camera, I think.
It's like, now let me see real quick.
Did that slider thing again?
He should be on his real computer.
Okay, it's 5:30. I don't know. I'm just having some technical difficulty here. I don't know if it's because, let me see. Oh, Roger.
There you go. All right, we are live.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's 5:30, and I want to welcome you to our town hall meeting this evening here. The focus of tonight's meeting will relate to the social studies and science rollout of our curriculum. So am I controlling the, am I sharing my screen, Jamie? Is that what I should be doing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can share yours.
Okay, thank you. It says you must disable so I can share the screen. Okay.
Should be good to share.
We are good. Okay. All right. So again, welcome. I want to welcome our panel here this evening, Dr. Gratz, our Prospect Elementary Principal, Mrs. Julianne Ware, our GIS Principal, and we have also with us Mr. Will Sandy, our 4-6 e-learning teacher, and Mrs. Beth Drennan, our K-6 e-learning coordinator. And again, a special thanks to Jamie Williams for helping to set up here the directory of the Zoom meeting and the YouTube channel broadcast. Okay, moving along here again, the focus for this evening will be our e-learning expectations. We'll review those again for attendance and time on task. Review our Ascend Mathematics, where we're at with that. And then our social studies and science curriculum rollout, our SEL support for our students that are on the e-learning platform, and review of conferences. Am I okay with this PowerPoint, correct? Okay. There's so many of them at the time, I want to make sure I have the right one. Again, you can just post your questions here through the YouTube channel on the right side in the chat area there, and we will address those questions as they come up to the best of our ability. And if we have to get back to you later tomorrow or in the week with additional supports, we'll make sure that that happens. Okay, then starting on with student expectations, and Mrs. Ware.
Hi, everyone. All right, so we've already talked a little bit about the e-learning expectations for K-5, but just want to review and really kind of go over some of the things that we have talked about, but really making sure that our students are working on their assignments, looking at the time on task and making sure that we're keeping up with the time on task. Remember, we don't necessarily have a set schedule of what it looks like every single day, because instead we're really trying to make sure that it's flexible for our families. So being able to build a schedule that really works for your family. So if that means that your students do better by working in the morning and working on their tasks throughout the morning, then be able to build something like that, but something that's routine, the kids know what that routine looks like for you and for your family. The student attendance is directly tied to participation, assignments. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in depth today. Really asking for the students to be able to daily check their emails, check Google Classroom, be able to constantly be in contact because we're sending messages through both of those platforms. Okay, you can go ahead. All right, so looking at the attendance, so we've had questions about what the attendance looks like, and it can be any of the following because there's lots of different things that your students are doing for K-5 for your e-learning. So they're looking at daily tasks in Google Classroom. That's going to start, that has started today with science and social studies, and Mr. Sandy's going to talk a little bit more about science and social studies here in a little bit, but that's one way to be able to get the attendance for the day. Doing your time that you're expected to do in Ascend Math or on Mind Play. Also, we have social emotional components that are embedded in there. We have the daily office hours for Zoom, and we're also starting to embed weekly or bi-weekly times for students to be able to meet with guidance counselors. So that's all going to be part of it. And anything that a student's doing throughout the day or throughout the week is going to be counted for their attendance. Attendance is retroactive. So if for some reason if you're constantly communicating with us and say, you know what, we had a really bad week, we weren't able to get everything in by that Sunday, we're going to kind of work the next week to be able to catch up on some of these assignments and some of those pieces, then that's fine. Just let us know kind of where you are and what's happening. Excuse me. Go ahead, Mr. O'Hare.
And we kind of have a checks and balance with that, correct, Mrs. Ware, that as the work is accomplished through some of those reports, it could go back and, as you said, retroactive to attendance?
Correct. That's correct. Yeah, because especially when we're looking in Google Classroom, a lot of those assignments, I mean, they're put in there, they have the deadline, but the students can still access them the next week. And so if you're going in and accessing them the following week and we're working through some of those components because of something that's happening with the family, that's absolutely fine. So when we're looking at attendance, though, we do have a lot of people who are calling in, parents who are calling in and saying, you know, my student hasn't worked today on Google Classroom. They haven't worked in Ascend Math. They haven't worked in Mind Play today or the last couple days because of some of the reasons. We're still contact the building because we do have the opportunity to be able to have excused absences if there are things that are happening that we need to be aware of, or, you know, if we're calling and saying, you know, we've noticed that you haven't been logged in, because we will start calling if you haven't been logged in for a few days. And so that way, you know, essentially, if you would call the building before because your student was going to be absent, still call the building on any of these things. And we kind of listed out some of the reasons, but some of the other issues now especially is looking at connectivity. So if there is an issue with a computer, a technology issue, internet outage, please just let us know if there's a reason why your student wasn't able to get on the computer on a given day to be able to get the work done.
Okay, we've been through a couple of slides. Any questions at this time that have been posted?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, again, to review our daily time on task. Are we doing okay?
I think Mrs. Ware froze.
Okay, so, well, until Mrs. Ware is able to connect with us again, I can make a few comments on this, and then I don't know, Will and Beth, if you want to. Hi, Mrs. Ware, are you back with us?
I'm back. I apologize.
That's all right, it happens.
Disconnected.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, connectivity issues, and just get in contact the building if there's some internet issues. Just want to model what that looks like. So really looking at the time on task, though, to be able to follow with that attendance. So we do ask for the students to be working a certain amount of time every single day. And we had said before that we would keep adding pieces in. We really wanted to make sure that families were set and secure with being able to log in to the reading program and to the mathematics program before adding the other social studies, science, writing, social emotional. There's a lot of different layers and components to this. So we wanted to make sure that we were really solid in the first two before we started layering pieces in. But so you can see the rollout this week is really focusing on science and social studies, working in the social emotional, and then we will in the future start adding some writing components into the Google Classrooms. You can go ahead.
So Mrs. Ware, if I don't complete my 30 minutes at first grade for social studies, and I only get in 15 minutes on a day, I still get attendance, correct, for that day, as long as I had logged in?
That's correct. As long as they are logged in and they are working, and really looking at the social studies we're looking at for the week. So if they log in and they work on social studies for 15 minutes one day, they can log in and do 15 minutes another day. Or even, you know, we say the Sunday is the end of the week, but if they start working on something on Monday and they contact and say, we weren't able to finish it before the week's out, but we're finishing it into the next week, just being able to communicate with us. But yes, attendance, they would still be counted for attendance because they still logged in and we're doing work every day.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Mrs. Drennan, for putting this together. So we had talked in our dashboard, when we sign into MindPlay and Ascend Math, we can see really very clearly a screenshot of what's happening across the entire buildings and what's going on with MindPlay and Ascend Math. And so we really wanted to highlight the successes that we've had in the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
The students have been working diligently on MindPlay and on Ascend Math. So this is just a snapshot of what has happened in the last couple weeks. And students have put in 625 hours on just the reading program alone, which is averaging about 25 minutes a day. We have 181 students who are working through the program, and you can see consistently across the grade levels how many hours and what % gain they are making with the reading. So looking very clearly at showing how they're gaining in their reading skills.
And this is all from the diagnostic as a baseline?
This is all from the diagnostic as a baseline. So that diagnostic is always going to be, that report always is going to be in the students and the parents' dashboard so that they can see exactly where they've come from and how far they've made it, which is a really nice feature.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That was week 1. So this is week 2. In week 2, the students logged 680 hours and 43 minutes on average a student. And again, we still have the 183 students, and again, consistently looking at a gain. If you looked at the week before, there was a little bit more of a gain in a couple of the grade levels. I'm looking at like grade 2, 14% gain. And then in week 2 for second grade, I think it was like 4% gain. So one of the big things is, remember, it's tailoring constantly to what's happening with the student. So the more time the student's spending on the program, the more time it's going to tailor to exactly what it is that they know and what they don't know. And so some of that goes to those pre-assessments. And we're going to talk a little bit about the pre-assessments in a little bit, but making sure that the students are really doing what they need to do during the pre-assessments will help that gain continue. Okay, this is Ascend Math then. Looking at the first week of Ascend Math, we had 178 students who were working with 784 hours, and 1,295 objectives were met and worked on for our students. So a lot of objectives across the board students were taking, they were working on the skills, and they were mastering those skills to be able to move forward.
Really, from this data here, just a compliment to number one, the parents and their patients. As you understand, we had to turn these programs around from our original platform that we had really worked hard on. That really just didn't come through for us. But and then of course the personnel and leadership here in the building, much appreciated, and all that you're doing, and the benefit, of course, is our number one priority, and that's our students. Thank you.
And then the same thing in here. And I absolutely agree to see the amount of hours that our students are spending working on reading and mathematics in order to be able to reach objectives to be able to make gains in both of those programs is really empowering for the students, and it's enlightening for us. So thank you so much for entrusting your kids to us, and for them spending so much time working to be able to grow and to get better in their reading and in their math skills. So just wanted to kind of celebrate and give us a snapshot as to what all they have done in the last couple weeks. So thank you again for that.
Okay, then moving along here, I think we have next up would be Mr. Will Sandy. I think you're muted, Will.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Just what this slide you're looking at. Well, before we look at this slide, just wanted to remind you, when you log in, or when the kids log into their Ascend or their Mind Play, if you look up in the top left-hand corner, it will sort of tell you where you're at, if you're on a pre-assessment, a post-assessment, or a quiz. For K to 3, they're rolling out the math quizzes this week. And they're going to, like I said, they're going to be assigned starting this week. And if the kids don't pass that objective, or if they don't master that objective, it will just reassign them to that. Wanted to remind the parents to please not help if they're on a pre-assessment or a post-assessment or one of the quizzes, so we can get a true look at where your student is. And if I forget anything, Mrs. Drennan or Mrs. Ware, you can go ahead and chime in for that. You can go ahead and go, Mr. O'Hare. Also rolling out this week, we rolled out the science and social studies, as we talked about. Those can be found in Google Classroom, just right below where the ELA and the math was. They'll have their own topic there, science and social studies, obviously. What you're going to find is either a video or a PDF, and then there'll be a Google form quiz. I had a few questions about that on my Google Classroom today. They should just be right there in the science and social studies section. I feel like the easiest way to do this is maybe if you split your screen, like I did a video for that a couple weeks ago. That's on the Girard website. But if you split your screen, you can have the PDF as like your notes on one side, and then the quiz can be right there on the other side, and you could use the PDF to help with the quiz. But one thing we wanted to remind you is make sure you set aside, probably for the older grades, 30 to 45 minutes to do the quiz. There's usually around 10 to 15 questions. The reason that you need that time is because you cannot save your answers. You have to finish the quiz in one sitting. So you can't do 5 and then stop and go back. If you sign out, it will reset it and you'll have to redo it. So just wanted to make sure you have enough time to answer all, however many the questions are, around 10 to 12 to 15, somewhere in there. These assignments will be posted on Monday at 8 a.m. They came out today. The first two for me, 4th and 5th grade, came out today at 8 a.m. and they are due by Sunday night at midnight. So, and the kids can work on that at any time, during the week. A couple of the parents I talked to today maybe do an hour of math, and then if you want to throw your social studies lesson in today, you can do that. Or if the math was a little bit taxing, you can save the social studies and the science for another day. So you can kind of manage your time, however you feel like would be fit and best for your child. You can go ahead and go, Mr. O'Hare.
Mr. Sandy,
Yeah.
where would that video be posted on splitting the screen? Is it anywhere on our website, or is it posted in Google Classroom for the families?
That is, I believe that's on the Girard website, and it is in the Google Classroom.
Okay.
And we did post that, right, Mrs. Drennan? Okay.
Yes, it's posted.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is just kind of an example. This is our 2nd grade e-learning platform, but this is what they all look like. If you go on into the Google Classroom and just scroll down from the math and ELA down to the bottom, social studies and science will be down there, and the PDF, as you can see there, is there, and then the quiz will be right underneath it. So that's where you can find those. It's pretty easy to navigate. I feel like it's also, don't forget, it will be in the classwork section of the Google Classroom, not in the stream. So a couple people were a little bit confused by that today. So yeah, but it's right in the classwork. You can go ahead and roll it, Mr. O'Hare.
Okay, I just want to comment. I think
Sure.
well organized here, in terms for families to be able to follow. I know that those of you that are behind this curriculum here with Beth here and Will and some of our other teachers, organizing a couple different resources to put all this together. So it looks like it will be well received. So every time you see form, we're talking quiz for that topic.
Yeah, that's for the younger grades. I believe on my 4th and 5th, I think I just labeled it quiz. So
Okay.
Either way, I mean, yeah, there's just going to be 2 things in there, and one is going to be like the notes section, and the other one is going to be the quiz.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then what you need to do here, this is kind of a way that we make sure they're completing what they need to do. Once they click, if you can see the red arrow there, once they click the PDF, it will open up. After you read that, make sure you go over to the right side there and click mark as done. That way we know that you looked at those notes and read over those notes with your child, or they read them over, by themselves. And it kind of lets us know that they're staying on track. So that all they'll do is just, click mark as done, and it kind of checks it off for them.
That's also a way to be able to get attendance.
That's
So if they mark is done, then we know that they've been in there, they have looked at the curriculum, and they've marked it. So it's also one of those, any of these items is for attendance.
Okay, so if I understand here with the social studies and science, and the process kind of is review the curriculum through the PDF, which may have a video in it, then click on the form. And then when you're finished with that form or quiz, make sure you mark as done each time.
You just need to click the mark as done for the PDF or for the video. Because when they take the quiz will actually hand itself in, and then we'll know. That's their way of we'll knowing that they.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, like we said, the forms must be completed in one sitting. The information doesn't save. On our end, once they turn the quiz in, and on their end, it will grade the quiz for them and immediately send that back to them, so they'll have the instant feedback. And then, as you can see on the right hand side there, you can click mark as done for the quiz as well. I think I said you didn't need to do that, but yeah, you can do that too. You could just mark them both as done. That way we know that that they completed them.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we pause at this time? Are there any questions that have gone into the queue? I'm sorry, I don't have the YouTube channel showing. Anybody at this time?
No questions in there.
Okay. Alrighty, then thank you. Then we're going to move on to the social emotional learning, and I think Dr. Gratz.
Hi, everyone. This slide is about the social and emotional learning supports for your e-learner. If you look to the right of the slide, it has the grade, and then it has the day, and then it also has the time. That will be when the Zoom link will be live for your social emotional support. And you would go to the Zoom link, you'll get that in your Google Classroom. It's this social emotional learning support is going to begin the week of October 6th, and it's going to be every other week. So you just need to look at your grade level and your day and the time, and know on October 6th, that's when we will begin, and you'll skip the next week, which would probably be the 13th, and then you'll have another one on the 20th during that week. Again, the Zoom link will be located in your Google Classroom.
Thank you.
Office hours, we have office hours. You have a contact, I believe it was in this slide, that has the contacts of all of our e-learning support personnel. And office hours are going to be held from 10 to 11 and 1 to 2 daily. Again, the Zoom link for the office hours is in your Google Classroom. So if there's any questions, any need for support that you have, or if you have need help with your son or daughter on something, you just need to visit the personnel. Like I said, it's on the contact page, their email address and their link, and then you would be able to, I think I have that right. The Zoom link, I'm sorry, is in the Google Classroom. And during those times, 10 to 11 and 1 to 2 daily, you would be able to get some help for your e-learner student.
Okay, I think this is currently in practice. Is that correct, Beth and Will?
Yes.
Yeah, and Dr. Gratz. And our families have been taking advantage of this? Okay,
I believe so. Talking to Mrs. Henderson and Mrs. Conway, they have said yes.
I think it's a great opportunity, and I appreciate the resource.
Conferences are going to be held on October 8th. Once again, you would just email your contact personnel for your e-learner, whether it be Mrs. Henderson or Mrs. Conway or Mr. Sandy, to schedule a conference with them. They're 15 minutes increment, and they would give you a time on that evening. If indeed you feel very comfortable, because I know there's daily progress reports in the e-learning platform, if you feel comfortable with where your child is, it is appropriate not to request a conference, but if you would like a conference, you are more than welcome to ask for a conference. Our K-3 handwriting books are going to be available on Monday, October 5th through Wednesday, October 7th. At the school, you can pick them up at any time. This is handwriting component that's being added to our e-learner platform. It's the same handwriting that we are doing in the distance learning, and it will be explained to you what your child will need to work on. You can work again at your pace, but again, the books will need to be picked up between October 5th to October 7th from 8 until 3 when the building is open. Also on Thursday, October 8th during conference time, you can also pick up your handwriting book.
Mr. O'Hara, real quick.
Yes.
We don't, if you're one of the e-learning families, you don't have to just have a conference October 8th. We can set up something, you know, all of that week if a time would work better on a different day, or if you needed to do early morning or early afternoon or whatever, we can do. So that way, you know, since we have so many families, we wouldn't be able to get everybody in just on the 8th. So if there's another day that works better, just, you know, you could just email one of us or get in touch, you know, calling the school or something if that would work better. So.
Okay, so that conference then for our e-learners, it could happen during the day of that week of the 8th. And then we would almost probably encourage some families to take advantage of that. That would lessen the load on that October 8th day. And then I don't even know if it could possibly happen during our office hours too, possibly with some of our teachers. So, okay, thanks, Dr. Gratz and Mr. Sandy. Okay. We have our contacts here. We have shared these in the past. Anybody want to make a comment on the contacts here? It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. And then I don't want to step too far out of my lane, but this would be for the platform and did you want to comment on this, Mrs. Drennan, or?
No, I think at this point, everybody has the codes and the reminds and everything. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Remind codes in
Mhm.
classroom. Okay. All right. Just to review, anything in the queue at this time in terms of questions?
No,
Okay.
no questions so far.
All right. Again, I want to thank those who were able to be with us tonight in terms of listening to our presentation here. And I again want to extend my thanks to the collaboration at our school level here, again, between our teachers and our administration. We emphasize a lot communication, usually on a daily basis or every other day. We are meeting in some form to look at our e-learners and the platforms, and really well done in terms of the social studies and science again. And then in the near future, the writing will be rolled out. I'm thinking after the workbooks are picked up, we may have to have a follow-up there. But okay, if there are no questions at this time, any last comments here from Dr. Gratz?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for all your hard work in supporting this area. So Mrs. Ware?
No, thank you all so much for entrusting your children to us and working so diligently on the program. So we appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you're doing. And if you need anything from us, obviously, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sandy?
No, Mrs. Ware said everything perfectly.
Okay. Again, thanks for all your work there, Mr. Sandy. And Mrs. Drennan?
I think I'm good. Mrs. Ware said it all.
Yeah, I know that you've put in a lot of hours on this yourself, Mrs. Drennan, and with everybody else and weekends, et cetera. So it is recognized and it's appreciated across the board.
Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. All right, so that being said, until next time, we are Girard family, taking care of each other.